Caitlin Clark, right? Like, she's lighting things up. She's probably made more in NIL money, or could potentially make more. The money in the WNBA is non-existent.
Right.
But
she could change that.
Something big was set in motion inside Indiana, and it didn't happen on the court. It happened behind closed doors, in private offices, far away from cameras, where franchise-changing decisions are really made. According to multiple podcasters and league insiders, a secret meeting took place at Pacers Sports and Entertainment headquarters. And the people reportedly involved weren't just random staffers. The names being whispered include billionaire owner Herb Simon, Fever head coach Stephanie White, and top-level executives. No official statements. No press conference. No public confirmation. But if even part of what was discussed is true, it suddenly explains everything that's felt off over the last few months. The confusing rotations, the strange shifts in identity, Caitlin Clark's changing role, and the noticeable shift in the team's entire energy. Because when money starts moving differently, power starts shifting. And when power shifts, real questions get asked. And if the rumors are right, this story isn't really about coaching adjustments. It's about influence. It's about revenue. And it's about the most valuable rookie women's basketball has ever seen. In that context, the alleged ownership-level statement, "This is CeCe's team now," isn't motivation. It's a directive.
2 Iowa teams left a mark on women's college basketball, but also women's basketball at large. Is that kind of crazy to think about? Like, you were a part of something that was a catalyst for this larger group.
I had heard about this Caitlin Clark, and I was watching videos of her just having 40.
To understand why a meeting like this would even happen, you first have to understand what the Indiana Fever really are. Most fans see the Fever as just another WNBA team trying to win games. But behind the scenes, they operate under one of the most powerful ownership structures in American sports. The franchise is tied to the Simon family, the same group connected to the Indiana Pacers and Simon Property Group, one of the largest and most influential retail real estate companies in the country. At the top of that empire is Herb Simon, now in his 90s, a legendary figure in Indiana business history, even if he's no longer handling day-to-day operations. Insiders believe that real operational control now runs through Steve Simon and Pacers Sports and Entertainment. And Steve isn't someone who needs attention to have authority. No constant media presence. No online noise. No public pressure campaigns. When you run a business at that level, you don't need to be visible to be in charge. That's what makes the reported shift so telling. Because the story being whispered is that when certain numbers started cooling, ticket energy, ratings buzz, and the non-stop Caitlin Clark headlines that had been driving the Fever's relevance, ownership noticed. And when billionaires notice, it usually means someone is about to get a call. Because in that world, declining momentum isn't a discussion. It's a problem that gets solved.
And Nafisa Collier were named WNBA All-Star captains for this year's WNBA All-Star Game. The captains were chosen via fan vote, and Caitlin Clark received 1.29 million All-Star votes this year.
When Caitlin Clark arrived, she didn't enter the league like a normal rookie. She entered like a national event. Her debut pulled massive attention. Merchandise flew off shelves. Tickets that used to be easy to grab suddenly became impossible to find. Night after night, arenas filled up, and it wasn't subtle why. For the first time in years, Indiana basketball coverage wasn't just about the Pacers. The Fever were at the center of the sports conversation. And every time Clark pulled up from deep, those logo-range threes that make arenas hold their breath, it wasn't just basketball. It was marketing in real time. Networks wanted her games because she brought viewers. Brands wanted her image because she brought buyers. Young players copied her style because she made it feel possible. The expectation was clear. This wasn't just a new chapter for the Fever, it was a new chapter for the WNBA. Then, something changed. According to fans, the flow shifted. The pace slowed. The system tightened. The team looked more controlled, more cautious, and far less explosive. The viral moments that once flooded social media became rare. And one question kept coming back, louder every week. What happened to Caitlin Clark's freedom? And the rumors say those questions weren't just being asked online. They were being asked inside the building by people whose opinions don't just influence rotations. They shape careers.
Thanked me and she was like this is like a learning moment. Do we need that in this moment? Like, no. And then she subbed me back in. There was a play where I kind of got a steal and like we're going in transition and Kelsey Mitchell just like takes off down the middle of the floor. And so there's like two people kind of by her and I literally like go to grab the ball.
Stephanie White's coaching identity has always been built around structure. Her philosophy values balance, movement, and team basketball, not turning every possession into a one-player showcase. The system prioritizes discipline, smart reads, and playing the game the right way. Basketball purists respect that style. But casual fans? Not always. Especially when the league's biggest attraction is a player who can turn any moment into a viral highlight. Under this approach, Caitlin Clark's role reportedly became tighter, fewer deep pull-ups, more controlled possessions, more traditional point guard responsibilities. And to be fair, it worked. The Fever improved. Wins followed. The team made the playoffs for the first time in years. On the court, the system earned credibility. But off the court, the energy didn't rise the same way. Some observers say attendance cooled after the early peak. The viral buzz slowed. TV excitement didn't hit with the same force. The non-stop Caitlin moments that once flooded social media became less frequent. And that's where business starts colliding with basketball. Because the Fever aren't just selling wins, they're selling an experience. People didn't pay just to watch solid team execution. They paid to see Caitlin Clark being Caitlin Clark. And according to reports, when ownership noticed that the revenue engine was losing heat, leadership above the coaching staff began to take the situation personally. If the rumor chain is accurate, this is the moment the story stops being about playbooks and becomes about power.
That Diana Taurasi got on the mic and she said these things about Clark after. It kind of, I don't know if it's going to change the viewpoint of Caitlin Clark from a lot of these old bitter. All these old bitter.
Here's where the rumors get specific. According to comments first shared during an Indiana Fever fan livestream and later echoed by multiple podcasters, an insider claimed Steve Simon called a private meeting with Stephanie White and senior executives, including Amber Cox and Kelly Kroskoff. And the alleged message? It wasn't subtle. It was direct. This is CC's team now. If even part of that is true, it wouldn't represent a small adjustment. It would signal a complete shift in basketball identity, branding strategy, and long-term team planning, all centered around Caitlin Clark. The reasoning, according to those same accounts, was pure business logic. Clark isn't just a player. She's a rare asset, a marketing force, a ratings engine, and the single biggest reason sponsors suddenly care about the Indiana Fever. The insider narrative says Simon wanted future decisions to protect and amplify Clark, her comfort, her role, her usage, her visibility, and the fast, explosive style that keeps the spotlight burning. But the story also claims not everyone accepted that quietly. Stephanie White, in particular, was reportedly furious at the idea of tearing apart a system that was producing wins just to rebuild everything around one person. And when she allegedly pushed back, the response from ownership was described as final. You don't have to like it, but it's happening. If true, that moment would explain why many believe the tension inside the organization finally reached its breaking point.
And how hard it was for me to not throw that. And she's like, oh, I know, trust me. Everybody was like, we saw you about to throw that. But I think it's just like kind of a learning process.
This clip bothered me because if you watch that play where she didn't pass Kelsey the ball after Coach Stephanie White benched her for having a few turnovers in a row, that would have been
freedom to attack. And whether Caitlin's explosive moments are treated like the main weapon or something to control. According to insider chatter, the pressure wasn't just about winning. It was about protecting a business machine. Because Clark doesn't just sell tickets. She changes sponsorship conversations, TV scheduling, national media coverage, and even how the entire league talks about the Fever. So the ownership mindset, if true, becomes simple. You don't let your biggest asset look smaller than she is. But the coaching side of the story paints a different fear. If everything becomes Clark first, you risk predictability. You risk chemistry. You risk turning the rest of the roster into background pieces. And that's where the tension becomes real, because both sides can argue they're protecting the team. One protects the basketball structure. The other protects the entire business. And if these reports are even partly accurate, the next step is where things get serious. Because power struggles rarely end with everyone staying in place. Either the coach fully adapts and unleashes Clark, or the organization eventually finds someone who will. Either the front office accepts slower growth for team balance, or they lean fully into the star model and reshape everything. And through it all, Caitlin Clark stays stuck in the most uncomfortable position possible. The face of the franchise who never asked to be the reason people are fighting behind the scenes. That's why the whispers won't stop. Because this no longer feels like a normal coaching debate. It feels like the Fever are deciding what they truly are going forward. A disciplined playoff team that limits risk. Or a Caitlin Clark-led entertainment engine built to dominate attention. And once ownership chooses that path, there's no quiet way back.